France has confirmed that the man who beheaded his boss and tried to blow up a gas factory in Lyon is linked to the ISIL terrorist group.
Yassin Salhi a décapité sa victime.
Yassin Salhi decapitated his victim. He fixed his victim's head on a fence in an attempt to give his act maximum publicity, and he stood by this act during his questioning. We can note that this corresponds exactly to the instructions given by Daesh, which regularly calls for terrorism acts to be committed in France, and more precisely, to slit the throats of unbelievers. The decapitation looks precisely like the mode of operation of this terrorist organization.
Mullen said that Yassin Salhi had a terrorist motive as well as a possible personal grudge. Salhi has, however, said that his motives were purely personal and had no terrorist intention. 35-year-old man was arrested on Friday after an attack in which he rammed his gas-filled delivery van into a warehouse containing dangerous chemicals. Firefighters who came to respond to the blast discovered a severed head on a fence which belonged to Salhi's boss. Anna Roy, correspondent, joins us from Paris. Anna Roy, so first of all, do we know what this man looks like, this Yassin Salhi? And second of all, doesn't the fact that there was a severed head, and we understand there was some kind of flag, unless that's incorrect, that was at the scene that had some kind of writing on it that related it to the ISIL terrorists, not make it enough evidence that this was ISIL related?
Well, this the flag itself is an ISIL. It can be considered as an ISIL evidence, but at the same time, the French prosecutors want to be 100% sure about which way they are heading, because if they just base their whole procedure on one particular flag, then they can get other legal complications. What we are also hearing is that the French police had put his name on a special list of people under watch between 2008 and then between 2006 and 2008. What we also know is that the French investigators have figured out that there have been phone connections between him. He took photos of the person he decapitated and then sent those photos by WhatsApp to another French person who is in Syria and who is fighting on behalf of Daesh. So those are the other indications that the French prosecutors, that the French investigators are looking at. They don't want to base their whole jurisdiction based on just one physical evidence. They want to gather as much evidence as possible. And at the same time, we are also hearing from this particular person that he has very selective memory. He doesn't really remember. He has blanks in his memory. He doesn't really remember what exactly happened, what transpired, how it happened, etc. All these sketchy details, all these sketchy information, the only way to counteract, the only way to prove all of this is to gather as much information as possible. And that is what French investigators are bringing up. They are bringing as much proof as possible to prove to, not just to him, but also to other French citizens, to convince them that this particular person does have connections with the ISIL or the Daesh.
Very well. Thank you very much for that. Anna Roy, correspondent there from Paris.